Happy Friday. I'm Chris McLean, lead pastor at Shady Grove United Methodist Church, and I'm sitting down with my friend Luke. He's going to help me with the news because I don't know anybody who keeps a better eye on the traffic, on the squirrels, and just sniffing out what's going around than Luke. So Luke's our assistant this morning. Welcome. The big thing happening is that the traffic in front of our house is ticking up as the governor's stay-at-home orders are loosening in phase 1. That applies to Henrico County, but not to Richmond and areas of Northern Virginia. And that raises the question of what's going to be going on in worship. And so we've been doing a lot of study as a staff about safest practices in worship, thinking about our congregation, and then we put out a survey so we could make sure that we were understanding the needs and best thinking of all of our members. Our members are amazing problem solvers and good at working together and good at thinking about every angle, thinking about the best for one another. And so I'm really proud to be the pastor of such a thoughtful and problem solving and teamwork kind of congregation as we are. Thank you for being this amazing family and ministry to our local community. And so where are we then? The first thing I know people are wondering is, are we going to keep online worship? And the answer is yes. We will have online worship from now on. And so that's been a wonderful outreach in our community. It might change forms as we gain new abilities in how we can produce that, but right now, what we have and are able to do now and hopefully continue to progress in that's going to be available. Now there's a form of worship that's going on. A lot of creative churches have jumped out and done that. We might not have thought, wow, we'll be that kind of church, but I want to float it by you. And that's drive-in worship. All we need is an inexpensive radio transmitter, and there's some benefits for our church and our community that we might not have realized. One, some of our young families are going to feel uncomfortable getting started in worship because they're going to be coming into a worship form when normally their kids would be in Sunday school. We're not going to have the same nursery and Sunday school options right off, so that makes things a little tougher for families to start with. But then the worship also is not going to have music in the same way as we generally had it because there are a number of safety concerns around how we manage singing. And so we're working on the music component of things, but it will be different, and that might be a little bit harder for our young people initially. And then parents will be trying to keep their kids 6+ feet away from folks, and they might say to themselves, wow, this is not going to be a very positive or pleasant opportunity in worship, and that's not what we want. As we bring people into the building, we want to be able to be glad and celebratory and honoring the Lord in our worship. And so we're going to be working on doing that in the very best way that we can when we get there. But the first place that we might be successful is in this opportunity for drive-in worship. And drive-in worship, it'll be a shortened service. It would be like Easter sunrise, but drive-in style. And the kids can enjoy Goldfish in the car if they want something to snack on. I think almost every kid associates Goldfish with Shady Grove Church because we tend to fill them up on Goldfish when we have them in Sunday school. So that might be a fun connection for a family. So drive-in worship could work for families. It could also work for our seniors who are saying, well, I'm not sure that I'm ready to go into the building. And we totally understand that. We want to protect your best sensibility and the responsibility you're taking for your health and safety. That's one of our principles at work here, and we want to give you choices. So our approach at Shady Grove is probably going to be all of the above, and starting with drive-in worship would be an easy way to begin gathering and offer that to the most possible people who would want to be involved. As we move into a next phase, we may be working our way into the building, but we're able to hook that FM transmitter through our soundboard, we think, which means that people who want to continue drive-in style will be able to do so. And so we would probably set up a special area in the parking lot with some special hosts in that area for folks who want to participate meaningfully in drive-in without being in the building. And so we'll find a way to do both. So the answer is going to be all of the above. Yes, online worship. Yes, probably drive-in if we can get that to work. Yes, moving indoors gradually and safely. And part of that's going to be something I think some of you might be dreading, which is the idea of reserving a seat. I've heard people say, I don't want to reserve a seat if it's just me. That'll keep a family out of it. And a family's thinking, I don't want to reserve a seat if it's just us. We might not be able to keep the kids happy long enough in this different sort of setting. I want somebody else to have it. Okay. So hearing that, what I want to say is, if God's calling you to worship in person, reserve a seat no matter the size of your household. You will be seated by household. Whoever you have been quarantining with, that's who you're going to be with. So reserve a seat as a household. We have all the seats measured and spaced out when we get to that stage. And while that feels odd to do it, it feels like the movie theater where you're picking your seat. It's actually a really safe idea that helps our health department in the event, and we don't want this to happen, but in the event that somebody does come down with coronavirus and we need to know everywhere that person was, we will be able to say who was sitting around that individual and make any contacts that need to be made. And so having reserved seating helps Shady Grove continue to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And that also is one of our goals. Somewhere in there, we have a lot to figure out about how to continue with awesome music. The contemporary service has had some folks able to lead the way with teaching the rest of us how to do what it takes to get music recorded. They can't all sing together in any program that we know of. What happens is every time you see a group of people singing, they've all recorded in isolation, just listening to a keyboard play or something, and then they're singing solos in their kitchen, in their living room, turning in those solos, and somebody sitting down for 8 to 10 hours to piece all those solos together and layer the music in order to produce one song. And now Contemporary's been sharing some of that technology and understanding over in the traditional side as part of our just continuously growing. I've heard feedback that says how amazing the music has been, how grateful everybody is, the way they see things continually evolving, the way that we keep sharing everything that's going on. People are starting to have ideas about how to film more some traditional worship. That's been something that folks have noted was lagging behind. They were super grateful for the leadership of Contemporary, amazed by the gifts of our whole church, and at the same time saying, I want to join in too, I want to be part of that too. And you're right in noticing that a lot of the materials available to churches are for blended or contemporary or what's called postmodern worship pieces. And so that means that when we're trying to put something together and we can't produce everything from scratch, but need to use some of these sources, we are getting things that might leave a portion of our congregation saying, whoa, hold on, me too, I want to jump in too. And I'm really glad to hear that. We want that. And what we need to do is work together to produce these materials, and it requires a lot of layered effort to go through that production process, and we have folks jumping in more and more. If you want to be part of that, if you're thinking, you know, me too, we're there. Contact me, I'll put you together with a team, and we will be producing the next creative opportunity, because we want to show the beauty of all the forms of worship, because we have a breadth of how we go about worship here at Shady Grove, and we want all of it to shine. I am so grateful for the leadership and servanthood of all the members of Shady Grove. People have lent their wisdom, lent their care. One member in particular, Donald, has been calling and making sure that I am okay during this time. Figuring that I'm making a lot of calls, checking on others, that individual has made a point of reaching out to me. I'm grateful for that, so shout out to you. It's an amazing place to be here at Shady Grove. I'm so proud to be your pastor. We will work together on all the next steps. I hope this gives you an idea of some sketches that we're working on. We'll get them nailed down, but we're going to be deliberate. We're going to be careful and thoughtful. We have some general rules of what it is to function as United Methodists, and they are these. First, do no harm. Second, do all the good you can. And third, attend to the ordinances of God. Stay in love with God. We're going to do those three things. We're going to do them together, and we're going to do them in a way where we are acting genuinely as a community church, caring for our community. And I do want to end with that. I want to end with the week's good news. Shady Grove, you have been generous in providing for some of our ministry partnerships. I want to tell you what we've been doing with some of those funds. Right now, as some of our neighbors are in need, we partner with the ACTS community. We're able to give $1,000 to ACTS as they go about attending to people in need in our community, and we work with them in concert on that. Also, we had some folks who were losing the ability to have their kids involved in the Center for Creative Arts. They had loss of work, loss of funds, and had to have their kids drop out of music lessons just due to financial issues. We were able to step in and give $1,000 to the Center for Creative Arts to fund that scholarship opportunity that's available there and make sure that nobody is losing their music lessons because of coronavirus. Also, we had a tragedy in our community, a high school student who passed away, and we were able to make a $300 gift in memory of that student to Full Circle Grief Center, which is a center that we refer to constantly as our members are struggling with grief. Their work is amazing, and their director actually comes to Shady Grove. So just a couple of things that were able to be done in this last week or two as we continue in partnership in our community. And meanwhile, the COVID fund is growing robustly as you are so generous in caring one for another. We do have plans for exactly how that process will go. If you are in need, if things are getting tight due to coronavirus and how that's affected your work, we're all in this together. Sort of my house is your house. That's what God has called us to be a church community where we share in common. We are that community. We're here for you. Contact Frank Basil and he will help you move confidentially and lovingly through that process, which is a painless process and one where you know you're cared for at your church. All right, friends, that's the good news. That's what's going on. Keep up your amazing ministry. You are amazing. Have a wonderful Friday. Bye-bye.